Welcome back to N2 the Chatterverse, where two gents share their 2 cents on pop media. I am Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics.
I am Bill, and I am the villain of the story.
Whoa. Most villains are named Victor, and so I feel like you're treading on my territory a little bit, but that's all right. What we're going to talk about, though, is my man, your man, the man, Mr. Giancarlo Esposito, has joined the MCU. And the fun part is we don't know who he's playing yet.
Is that fun?
For me, it is.
I feel like there's too many people that have been given roles that we don't know what the roles are.
That's fair.
I'm actually kind of tired of that.
Just say who you are. Like, just come through.
Like, okay, because that gets me excited.
Yes.
That's a
good point.
It's not the, well, he could be this or he could be that. It's the, oh, I could see that.
So, okay. And we kind of talked about this before with Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
And when it was announced that Robert Downey Jr. was playing Iron Man, there was a visceral reaction of, well, yeah, like that works. He is Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Like, we can see that.
Right.
So, in this regard, playing it close to the chest, you feel is doing a disservice because we don't have the opportunity to just be excited for what this is going to be. We're just assuming because we like him that we're going to like this role.
Right.
What's the worst showcase of that you know of where we didn't know who someone was playing, and when they finally did it, we're like, womp womp.
That's a good question. I can't even think of who. Yeah, I don't have anybody.
All right.
I don't know of any time. This just seems to be happening a lot in the comic book movies now.
That is true.
Like mostly in the Marvel stuff, but even in well, the only thing I can think of as far as the DC stuff would be your boy
Theo Rossi.
Yeah.
And Theo, when I just worked with him at Motor City Comic Con, he was like, yeah, I'm going to be in the Penguin. And I'm like, interesting. And he's like, if people respond well to who I'm playing, then some other opportunities could come. Now, I was a good little boy and I didn't ask him who he was playing, but if you go on IMDb, it doesn't say. Like, it literally is mysterious. So you're, again, supposed to feel some sort of excitement when you see him, but how much more exciting would it be if you just like,
I like
oh my
Theo
God.
Rossi.
Same.
And it's just like, I like Giancarlo Esposito.
Right.
But I want to know what you're playing.
I want to know who you're going to be.
Right.
Why am I so excited about you doing this character?
I mean, you're not going to be, Moff Gideon or anything like that. So
I mean, that would be interesting, wouldn't it? He shows up.
It's one of those things where, like, I want to know who you are. That's what gets me excited. It's not, directors get me excited at times. They also are like, I don't know about that.
Right.
But I'll wait. Some writers are that way too.
Right.
But, knowing that an actor's in it is one thing.
Right.
But
knowing
the role,
especially if it's something that is,
because that's what's getting you out there, by the way.
Right.
The majority of it is going to be the people in it, not necessarily the people behind it. The people behind it are, if it's a Spike Lee movie, then yes.
Yeah.
If it's a Spielberg movie, yes.
1,000,000%.
But Tim Story,
way to pull like randomly out of the
or
cut.
I'll go from Spike Lee to Malcolm Lee.
Oh, wow. That's
okay.
Okay. All right.
And I like the majority of the things that Malcolm Lee does, but it's not going to be one of those things where I say, "Oh, Malcolm Lee."
I'll pull into that.
But somebody, who would be in it?
I can't think of a Malcolm Lee movie off the top of my head right now. Why am I blanking? Give me one.
Did he do? Oh God.
See?
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. Point made. I think. Okay. So going back to my question for you, the one for me that I was disappointed is the wrong word because he was still great in it, but it still wasn't what I wanted. Peter Dinklage in Days of Future Past.
I almost said that.
It's totally, come on, because we wanted Puck. We wanted Puck so bad.
Yeah.
Because Puck is so underserved. And yes, I get it. It's on the nose.
Who cares?
That's what I'm saying.
Anyone could play Trask.
Right. And again, it's not that Dinklage was bad at Trask.
Right.
But it would have been more significant to me if he was Puck. That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Like, just friggin' amazing. So I am curious about that. Now, through different conversations that Giancarlo has had, he has hinted at wanting to be specifically Doctor Doom. I don't think that it's going to be Doom.
Well, didn't I see something that said that it was going to be a character that they haven't done yet?
Oh, is it? I skimmed one of the articles that I read, so I didn't see
it may be somebody else, but I thought that was him. But either way, I could get excited about him being Doctor Doom.
I would love that. I think it would be very interesting, especially for the context of Doom and Latveria always being seen as this Eurocentric, country. So obviously there's a leaning to something. But what most people don't know is that Giancarlo Esposito's mom was Italian. So his dad. I think it's his dad is Italian. But he has roots in Europe. That's European roots is directly tied to who he is as a person, which is why he'll tell people he's not African American. He's not. He's his. And now I can't think of where his mom is from, but it's not from America. And people don't. They're like, no, but you're black. He's like, think bigger than that, please. Think bigger than that.
Well, yeah, you kind of get stuck in a rut on that one.
Yes. So the idea of him representing something very special like that, I think would be fantastic. I love that idea. Now, again, there's been some people that also speculated that it would be Norman Osborn, but then quickly wrote that off.
Okay. I saw that too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it can't be Norman Osborn.
Because that's Sony. That's not
right. Unless they made a deal.
Which would be cool, but I think that would have been said, right? That wouldn't be...
By the way, Giancarlo Esposito was born in April.
Yes, he was. April 27th.
26, it says here.
What?
He's from Denmark.
Yes, he is. That's wild. The 26th?
That's what it says.
Okay. All right.
I'm not saying it's right.
Yeah, no. I'm thinking because we talked on his birthday, and I thought it was the 27th that we talked. But it could be that it was just off a day. So whatever, clever. But yeah, so again, he as a worldly man would be a great showcase as Doom for sure. But I definitely think that if there was a deal for him to play Norman Osborn, that would have been headline news because it would mean something better for Spider-Man coming up.
Well, unless we're getting back to where Feige is keeping everything to himself, which not necessarily the worst.
Necessarily bad. No.
The worst thing.
That's true. Because Tom will spill the beans. He's good for it.
It's nice to see that both universes had that. Because what didn't? Was it Momoa? Or was it...
Momoa was good for snitching stuff because he didn't care.
And Ezra Miller, was he one that would drop?
Did Ezra committed crimes? I can't recall exactly which things he did that were bad.
But anyway.
But yeah, Momoa was good for telling because he didn't care.
Yeah.
That's why during the Wizard World days, he wasn't allowed to have a panel. He didn't do panels because they
I would walk around and grunt at people and point, and they'd be like, oh my God.
Yes, literally.
That was hilarious, by the way. He's grunting at you.
That's all they needed. That's all they needed. What else did I hear? Obviously, you had the... Magneto, Professor X throwouts.
Which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, I would prefer Professor X. What would you prefer between those two?
So I am tired of him being a villain.
I get that. I get that 1,000,000%.
I mean, he does it so well.
He does.
Which I get.
Yes.
But I would like to see him do it from the other side.
Yeah. Yeah. So if he was Professor X, who would be the Magneto to him?
Pedro Pascal. No.
That would be rich.
That's a good question. Yeah, I can't think of anybody.
I am such a nerd about this. It's not even... I mean, yes, it is the actor and the portrayal that would be great, but it's the behind-the-scenes sort of... movie history, movie buff thing about it. Denzel Washington. I would want Denzel to be the Magneto and Giancarlo to be the Professor X. Denzel is typically the nice guy. you know, when it comes to Hollywood stuff. So for him to be the aggressor would be amazing. But as we've talked about, going back to Malcolm X, Spike Lee joint, where Denzel plays Malcolm X, and Giancarlo is one of the guys that kills him. I think that would be such a funny sort of like,
I'd like to see Denzel play that role.
Right? It would be colorful. I think it would be very colorful. And I don't mean that like pejoratively. I think it would be very nuanced in what he would do. And those two men as prominent, you know, we'll say ethnic actors would bring something very real to those roles. Not that Ian McKellen and Patrick Stewart did not, or even, you know, Fassbender and
McAvoy.
Thank you. They did something great with those roles. But I think what these two guys would bring would be different in a way that still works, still is on point for every aspect of what the X-Men is supposed to represent, but would still be unique to their portrayal. And I'm like, that would be fun. Now, I would lose my mind, truthfully, if he is in any way, shape, or form Professor X. That would trip me out. I don't know if I would expect to see Professor X in Captain America 4.
I wouldn't.
Right.
And my problem with that is overshadowing.
It would. I think it would.
But I also think that Giancarlo being in it
could also overshadowing
it a bit.
I can see that.
And I looked over the cast earlier today, and I was just like, oh, Liv Tyler's in this.
Oh, snap. She is coming back, isn't she? Wow. Okay. All right.
And then the guy that was going to be the leader.
Tim.
Yes, him.
Yes.
He's in it too.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah, because the leader is the main villain, right?
I have no idea.
That's what I thought.
I don't. What they showed us at CinemaCon, I don't remember seeing him in it.
Okay. Gotcha.
I don't think there was anything really spoilery in that, to be honest with you.
Gotcha.
Just like the people behind me are like, I can't believe they didn't put the Red Hulk in there. I'm like, you're gonna do that to Anthony Mackie? Come on.
Now, see, I think that makes sense for Giancarlo to be someone that goes head to head, so to speak, with Harrison Ford. I think that, you know, kind of works and would kind of keep things balanced just right, because I almost feel like Harrison Ford being in there overshadows Anthony Mackie. With all due respect to Anthony, Harrison Ford is Harrison Ford. Like, that's a force of acting, you know, right there. That's hard to deal with. And not that, I'm always going to do it wrong. William Hurt. Yes. I always mess around. I'm like, John Hurt. No, it's the other one.
John Hurt was the doctor. Yes. He was the war doctor.
Exactly. That William Hurt was great, but not in the same way of prestige that Harrison Ford is, you know.
Yeah.
So I think, like, to balance things out, you almost have to bring in somebody like Giancarlo to kind of be that other side against Harrison Ford, because, again, with all due respect, Mackie, you're fighting an uphill battle already. You're already fighting uphill by being Captain America in this one, but to go up against Harrison Ford, you're like, wow, that's a lot. So
it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
And this is the problem. I don't really want to speculate who's going to play.
Okay.
Because it's just that I don't. There are times that it's fun,
right?
But I just feel like he's going to be a villain.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's gonna lead right into the X-Men, and I don't like that.
Okay.
I think that the X-Men can do it on their own, and they've already got a movie coming out that could go right into that anyway.
That's true. It's coming out first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that they, you know, if there's connective tissue in there, that's one thing.
Right.
But if you make them someone like Trask,
right,
which once again anybody can play that role.
That is true. I think the more interesting thing is if you go Trask, it's immediately Sentinels. Like, immediately is where that goes. Gyrick, though, through the animation or animated series, you immediately go Sentinels. Yeah. But through the comics, Gyrick was a liaison for the Avengers for a while. So I think at least you could kind of live in that space a little longer.
You could, but I think that
if
you go right back to the X-Men animated.
Yeah.
I mean, Gyrick was in that.
Right there. Yeah. Like, immediately, it becomes about Sentinels again.
So, and he was also in X-Men.
Yes, he was. He was the aide. Yeah, he was the aide. So again, if it's somebody brand new, can't be Gyrick because we've had Gyrick. Can't be Trask because we've had Trask.
Right.
So yeah, we'll see who it is.
And as much as I hate the name, it could be Mr. Sinister.
Oh.
Because that's a stupid name.
I mean, that is a stupid name, but he would be brilliant as that.
Yep. I think even Robert Meyer Burnett brought that up.
Dang. All right. That could be dope.
But still, I would rather be talking about how good he's going to be at this role as opposed to
what role is it?
Wonder what he's playing. He's playing Ben Parker.
I would hate that he'd have to die to do it, but he would do a good job. Okay, so before we get out of here, I want to throw something at you that I came up with last weekend. I was in Oklahoma City and just an idea hit me, and I've said it out loud a couple of times, and it is my pitch for how to set up the Mutants saga in the MCU. And you haven't been like given a precursor to this, so this is just raw. You're hearing it, and I want your immediate visceral reaction. Not that I have to tell you that, but that's what it is.
All right,
so,
I hate it.
I know you do. Okay, so we start off with the Fox X-Men actors, and they're in a major battle. Like, we're talking Act 3, final last minutes of this battle, and it is we'll say the X-Men actors from the last showcase, which is Dark Phoenix, unfortunately.
Or fortunately.
Either way. So we're seeing these kids, and I mean, technically they're not kids at this point. They're aged up just nicely. What we have is the person that they're fighting is Scarlet Witch. And what happens is they're going for the kill. Like, this is the end all be all. This is what it is. And we might even have something fun where she gets stabbed in the back, 3 adamantium claws pop out from, her bosom or whatever because she got stabbed in the back. And what they were trying to do is to take her down before she uses what is her secret weapon, which is the Time Stone. She has a Time Stone. We don't know exactly how she's gotten it. Irrelevant, but she has one. And by using it as her last-ditch effort, she travels back in time. And where she arrives is the 1940s. And what she says with her dying breath is no more mutants. Creates this, wave of energy, shockwave, and it's then that we've realized that where she is the 1940s. And so this wave happens. We realize that we're in the 1940s. All of a sudden, we jump back and we're in current MCU times. And whoever is playing Charles Xavier wakes up from having this recurring dream of understanding what has happened to the mutants. And when he turns on the TV, we realize that the MCU that we've experienced this entire time has been the post-M-Day world where Scarlet Witch has said no more mutants, and that's where they have been this entire time. She wiped out mutations for vast majority of people. And what this is hearkening back to is the House of M storyline, where she created a reality where Magneto was in charge, and once they figured out everything that happened, she utters those words, and the mutant population goes from thousands, if not millions, to 198. So the mutant saga is Professor Charles Xavier in this modern time realizing that there used to be a number of mutants, and through this cosmic reality-changing event, they're now reduced to insignificant numbers. And his goal now is to find them and see if there's a way to reverse what happened. That would be the mutant saga. What are your thoughts?
I think that Loki nerfed.
Dang it! Dang it!
Because everyone had they had those stones.
Shoot!
They're in a drawer.
Everybody's got infinity stones. What are you talking about?
There's like 200 of the stones sitting
there. Paperweights? They're nothing. Like, what is that? This is nothing.
Having never read that, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I don't really have anything to say about it.
All right. Listen, that's a good thing.
I don't hate it.
Yeah.
I guess it's the Scarlet Witch part of it.
Okay.
Because by all means, she's dead.
She should be. She absolutely should be.
I think she killed herself. So.
Yes.
And And I'd be okay if they did not bring her back because I'm tired of them bringing people back. And they're going to do it anyway because
of course they are.
There's no way that Robert Downey Jr. does not show up again some point in time. And I think Chris Evans will show up at some point.
I agree.
I think the only person that won't
is
Scarlett Johansson. And I think it has less to do with the way they got rid of her.
Right.
It's more the way they treated her.
Behind the scenes mattered more to her character's disappearance than anything. Yeah. I can see that. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm wondering if like what's going to happen with the Fantastic Four isn't how they're going to bring in mutants.
Okay.
Because everyone seems to think that the Fantastic Four is going to take place in the 60s.
Right.
Based on a poster.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't have any argument against that other than
it's just a poster.
It's just a poster.
We don't know.
We have no idea.
That's true. One of the things that I am most concerned with is that the entrance into bringing the mutants into the MCU is Secret Wars, and that they are from some other mutant or some other dimension, and it's in the aftermath of Secret Wars where everything gets rewritten and tied together. That everything is like, oh no, it's always been this way. I am afraid of that because
it's called Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Yes. Yes. That is literally what I'm afraid of, is that that's what it's going to be, is the Crisis version of it. And the reason why it bothers me is because I think if you do that, it should be, Secret Wars itself should be its own saga, not a movie, because that's way too big of a situation to just do in one movie. That's my biggest concern with that. So
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
And it has less to do with Marvel
than
it does with DC.
All right, let's go.
What if James Gunn decides to hint at the reboot of the DCU that there was a crisis? Like, they don't actually tell you,
but they mention
like, certain things.
I would like that. I would, because okay, what that does for me. Oh, you just gave me the tickles. It is the reason why I've said for years, and you're probably gonna throw something at me. I've said that Spider-Man 3 is the most comic booky of the 3 original Raimi Spider-Man, because everything that happens in that movie is a nod to the comics, because they never actually build it in the movies. The relevance of almost everything is from what you know from the comics. So Gwen Stacy, the relevance is from what we know as comic book readers. They don't even name Venom. They don't name him. Like, you only know who that is because you know who Venom is through either comics or that's what that would be for me. It is a reference of a reference of a reference that you only get if you get it. And that would be the best part.
My question is, who killed Uncle Ben?
That dude, that guy with the blonde hair that just was running.
Not according to Spider-Man 3.
Oh, shoot, that did change that, didn't it? It was Sandman. That's right. Oh, that's
also,
right.
I feel like Spider-Man 2 is a better comic book
absolutely.
movie. It's more of a page turner.
1,000,000%.
And everything, and every panel kept my focus.
I can totally understand that.
And I've only watched Spider-Man 3 once.
All right.
I may actually go back and watch it again.
So the next time I get to work with Sam Raimi, I am very interested in talking about it, because all the times we've ever talked, we've not focused on that one.
Yeah.
But I really want to talk about like what that represents in terms of the first time that I think we as comic bookdom would ever have the understanding or idea of studio interference by the inclusion of Venom. Because as I understand it, he didn't want Venom. He never wanted Venom.
Yeah, it's my understanding too.
And so,
but Kevin Feige is the definition of studio interference.
Absolutely. And how much of that has actually worked versus anything else? Like, I think it mostly works when the studio, if they're paying attention to what they should be.
It worked all the way up until Bob Chapek took over.
I agree. There
are very few misses in those first 31 movies.
And I don't care what anybody says. There are some great moments in Spider-Man 3. There are some things that aren't favorite, right? Like, again, who actually killed Uncle Ben? Sorry. Stupid. But, not great.
Yeah.
Dancing Peter, maybe not great.
Well, but it's meme worthy.
It's super meme, and we didn't even know. Like, if only we knew then what we know now. But like the fight between Peter and Harry, that was great. Like that was one of my favorite like pieces of that movie, especially the slow-mo explosion of the pumpkin bomb in Harry's face. Like that was amazing.
Yeah.
So there's things.
Now Harry got redeemed in that movie too.
He did.
Unfortunately, they killed him off.
Yes, they did.
I was like, ah.
Oh, he was back. Oh, womp 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 womp. But yeah, this is a really really interesting one. So okay, if they allude to Crisis, that would be fun.
I would just like to see something. I don't care if they say that mutants have lived with us the entire time.
Okay.
And they've just been hidden.
For whatever reason.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
And Xavier's school has just been a safe haven.
Right. Well, that was kind of the way it went in the early 60s, was like people didn't know about mutants like that, right? Like because they weren't super prevalent when the X-Men first started. It wasn't like mutants were running around everywhere. Right. So that was kind of like the idea was like, oh, there's this new species of people that look different, have powers, and people will probably be afraid of them, but not that they were actively like everywhere and people are like, look, there's a mutie. Like,
yeah, but originally they all looked normal.
Yes.
And then later on it wasn't.
Started to get a little bit more twisted. And,
yeah.
I got you. Okay. All right. So the idea that they've just been hiding
the
entire time is good.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. All right. So on that note, I'm going to ask, to Bill's chagrin, who do you think Giancarlo Esposito is playing in the MCU? And who is the one person that you hope he doesn't play in the MCU? I'm really curious about. Do you have an answer for that? Who's somebody you don't want him to be?
Wolverine.
I was so going to say that. Okay, so thank you guys for tuning into the Chatterverse. Once again, I'm Victor Dandridge, the hardest working man in comics.
And I'm Bill, and I am still the villain.
We'll see you guys next time. Peace.